Okay. Call the meeting to order, please. Roll call.
Donahue?
Here.
McKnight?
Here.
Roa?
Here.
Vogel? Here. Stearns?
Here. Pledge of allegiance. You're able to stand, please. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Do you have a cell phone? Smartphone, if you'd go ahead and mute it. And we'll try to tell you to turn it on at the end of the meeting. Public comment. Mary Ann, do we have anyone signed up?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. Notice of executive session, Katie?
Your Honor, no executive session was held after the last meeting.
Okay. Motion to approve the minutes of September 1st regular council meeting?
I motion.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Donahue?
Aye.
McKnight?
Aye.
Roa?
Aye.
Vogel? Stearns?
Aye. Communication, Katie, I don't see anything under communication. Is that
We
correct?
received no communication, Your Honor.
Thank you. Manager report, Mary Ann?
Thank you, Your Honor. So, last council meeting, Brenna, the city's Vista, presented upon the home rule charter. Council has asked her to move forward with putting up together a public education proposal. She has done this, and I'll turn it over to Brenna.
Hello everyone, thank you for having me again. Tonight will be much shorter than last time, I promise. But before getting into the public education proposal, I just want to go over a few questions that came up from last meeting. So go on to the next slide, thank you. All right, so I know there's some uncertainty about the nomination process for the candidates for the commission and the question of whether or not they would have to cross-file since it is a nonpartisan office. So I reviewed the nomination papers that the candidates would circulate, and there is no party designation on these papers, so they would only circulate this one form. And any Meadville registered voter of any party can circulate the papers, and any Meadville registered voter can sign them as well. And so 81 signatures in total are needed. And again, it's just the one form. And along that note, independent voters are able to vote in the commission or charter referendums if they occur in a primary. So again, it's open to all Meadville registered voters. And then, as I mentioned last time, Greenville and Newcastle spent about $30,000 for the cost of their commission. And after checking with our local government policy specialist, Terry Kronfeld, who is here with us tonight from the DCED, she confirms that we would be able to apply for funds through the STAMP program to help cover the cost of a consultant. We are only able to have about $200,000 out at a time in STAMP funds, which we currently are maxed out at that amount for the website redesign and for other software updates for the city. So we would have to spend some of those funds first before we could apply for more, but by the time it would get around to that, some of those funds are likely to be spent, and the website redesign is in the process, so that's likely the first to be spent. And lastly, when discussing Act 47, a question came up about how often communities turn to home rule as a way to avoid being designated as Act 47. So after my research of looking at the Act 47 communities and home rule communities, and after talking with Terry, and she consulted with a colleague as well, we didn't find any community that turned to home rule for the single narrow intention of avoiding Act 47. And so it's largely because while you may be able to see Act 47 on the horizon, by the time that you know you're being designated Act 47, there's really no time to start the home rule process and try to get that going to prevent going into designation. And so when Act 47 has come up with home rule communities, it's often come up after Act 47 designation, often as part of their exit plans. And I also just want to take a quick second, since last time was really focused on the like tax side of home rule, just spending a quick minute to talk about what else we can do with it. So as far as structural changes, a couple of home rule municipalities have eliminated their treasurer and controller positions and just incorporated those duties into their finance department. Some communities as well have adopted district voting, where they've incorporated usually a combination of at-large elected positions and also adding in some positions that are elected by voting districts. And the mayor's role is also something that is looked at through the Government Study Commission, whether it be going from the strong mayor form of government to council manager, or fleshing out some of the roles and duties of the mayor and the voting powers. That also comes up pretty often. And then lastly, just by virtue of having this Government Study Commission and this community process, government transparency and citizen involvement just is sort of naturally increased as a result. And many charters have incorporated initiative and referendum processes for citizens to either propose their own ordinances or suggest the repealing of an ordinance to get more people involved in that way. And something that is also new and has come up, particularly in cases of environmental protection, is the incorporation of a community bill of rights into the charter itself. And so these are often just strengthening protections for citizens and residents that the state already offers, but having it, the local government sort of empower those protections as well. And this kind of gives the commission the ability to focus on particular issues impacting that community. So some communities that have been impacted by fracking and other projects like that have strengthened their environmental protections. So that's one example of a community bill of rights. And then lastly, getting into the public education proposal, Gary and I worked out a plan that would include 2 general information meetings and 1 commission-specific meeting. So the general information meetings would be similar to the home rule presentation that I gave the first time, tailored a bit more to the general public and giving a brief overview of what the Government Study Commission does. And at those general information meetings, we would encourage individuals who are interested in running for the commission to also attend a commission-specific meeting that would go into more detail on the commission's activities and responsibilities, the nomination process, how to file. And we've also discussed inviting a former commissioner as a guest speaker to come and talk about their experience of being on a commission from start to finish, what that process was like for them. And we believe that Marco Belisco from Newcastle, I talked to him last month, and he was really great and open to coming and talking to us. So we see that as a possibility for this meeting. And so looking at a timeline, if we were to move forward, we would imagine having the general information meetings in late October and late November, and then having the commission-specific meeting in mid-January. And this would give folks about a month to really decide if they actually want to run for the commission, because that circulating petitions for that would begin February 15th. And then those nomination papers would have to be filed by March 8th. And so that's what I have for tonight.
Ren, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
If I understand this correctly, it is theoretically possible that candidates could circulate nomination papers and be on the ballot, but the voters could reject the idea of a government study commission.
Correct.
So ultimately, just to be clear, this is not something the council is doing. We're just getting it on the ballot so that the voters can make their own decision.
Yes, that
All right.
is correct. Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks for putting this plan together. I think it's great. It's nice to know, to kind of have a map of what public engagement could look like, so that's helpful for me. Backing up, and I'm sorry to do this, but I've got a question on our questions from last meeting.
Yeah.
And it could just be the way that we asked, but the question around applying for DCED funding, so maybe it's a question, Gary. For a consultant, that's not limited to a consultant, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be a consultant that carries out, the work of the home rule charter process.
Yeah, it would be for the consultant, for the paid consultant. You could incorporate into that if the voters would vote for a commission. Okay, say the voters vote for it and you're going to move forward. That commission has 6 months to determine whether or not they're going to move forward with suggesting that, yes, we're going to move forward with drafting a charter. We want to move in this direction. And in those 6 months, they basically study forms of government. They study your form of government. They study other places. They interview people. Their first 6 months, 4 to 6 months, are spent doing that. You really don't need a consultant or anything at that point. At that point, I'm available to come in, work with your commission and things like that. Then when you do bring a consultant on if they do decide to draft a charter and move forward with the study. At that point, the consultants guide them, they help them draft that charter. They're experienced in drafting charters. There's a small group of consultants out there that do it. And then at that point, the only thing that council would have an expense in is the public education part of it, the advertising, things like that. That is up to council to fund that and budget that in. But you can incorporate that a long circle to your answer, to your question. You can incorporate those funds in the STAMP grant too. So I think that would be your only expense, and you have to have this is Newcastle's charter. You take the third-class city code, it's this thick, and this is their charter. So you have to provide, if it does pass, and you have to provide binded copies, we can incorporate that into the STAMP grant also, the added additional expenses. But that would be your expenses.
Well, yeah, thank you for that. I think my question is more around consultants so I guess I'll rephrase, but that's helpful. Do most communities hire on a consultant, or have you seen other communities kind of do it in-house where a staff person steps up? No.
The majority seek counsel. And the other thing that you would have, they would work very, very closely with your solicitor also. Because at that point, you're rewriting your code, and you need legal consultant with that. But no, it is a mundane task. If a commission is, and I think, we talked about Marco Belisco would be a good one to come here and speak with you and speak to other people that may be interested in, if you do go forth with this, as far as the responsibilities. And we met, and that is something that as a DCED, your local government policy specialist, I sat with the city of Newcastle every other week. Every other week I was there with the commission meetings. And unfortunately, it was through COVID, so it was by way of Zoom. But it is the people that run. It is a very, very, it's very dedicated, and it's very detail oriented. So you do need that consultant. When you think of the city code written, the third-class city code written, your charter has to reflect that type of structure and language.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you so much.
So I guess the question for council is, what do you want the next steps to be? Do you want to try to do what Rena has outlined as the first 2 general info meetings? Do you want to go down that route? Do you want to sit on it for another meeting?
just to keep in mind, this is based on a primary referendum. It can always be a general referendum, which would basically push everything out 6 months or so. This is aggressive. We can do it. I don't think there's a question we can do it. The question is, does council want to move forward now? Because if you do, we'll need to start working now to make sure we have the spaces, et cetera, to host these meetings. So we just need some kind of direction from council. Should we assume that we should move forward with it, and then council can, is there a consensus of council now to go ahead and start moving forward with these educational, or is it more like, no, we're not interested right now? That's kind of where we are at the moment. So, yeah, that's where we are.
I say we got the process started, let's keep moving.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Got that?
So, let's
Yeah,
stay on schedule.
And is it okay if I just interject? And back to the question was, and we discussed this in depth, and I discussed it with my colleagues too, was about the communities with, does anyone do this to not enter into Act 47 to help with that? And I guess I just want to elaborate a little bit on that as far as, it's usually done after Act 47. It's not done, it's usually done as reactive, versus proactive. So I admire you guys for, I know it was a recommendation in your stamp plan, and if you have any questions or anything for me, please feel free to reach out in the
Thanks.
process.
Thanks very much. No other questions?
No.
Marion?
The only other item I have under manager's report is Tim had a call with the bond raters last week. We have received the preliminary draft, and the city's bond rating will remain at an A+ rating. They're hoping to go to market with the bond this week, but that didn't pan out. So they're looking at Monday or Tuesday, 27th through 28th, to do that.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, Marion?
No, that's,
Thank you. Council's priorities, the home rule, we're moving forward as we speak this evening. Develop, maintaining a comprehensive multi-year capital improvement plan. I believe we're still moving on that, correct? And then the town hall on countywide reassessment, still there. So, council subcommittee reports, beautification, Autumn, Larry, anything on
I
beautification?
don't have anything on them.
Beautification Committee raised $1,300 in their month
Good.
sale in partnership with Loeffler's, which is pretty exciting. Still to be determined what we will do with it, but we've got money now, and that's nice. And there will be an additional cleanup. I think I mentioned last time that we have started doing cleanups preceding First Friday downtown, and so the next one will be September 30th, preceding the Friday, October 1st, First Friday. And those are welcome. Those are open to anybody. Folks are welcome at 6 p.m.
Okay, thank you. Jim, anything on finance?
People are paying their taxes, and we have enough money to pay bills right now. That's good.
That's a good sign. French Creek Council, nothing
Meets next month.
next month? Okay. NAACP Subcommittee, Autumn, Larry?
No.
I don't think any update.
Parking Subcommittee, Autumn, Larry?
No.
No.
Redevelopment Authority Liaison, I have not been to a meeting because I drive bus the same as you do in the
Right.
mornings. I don't think there's anything, Mary Ann, we need to. Okay, thank you. And Recreation Subcommittee, Larry, that's you and I.
Yeah.
I think we gotta get our skateboards out and go skating. We have done that.
Many moons ago.
Many moons ago. Tax exempt gift, Jim?
Nothing new to report.
Okay. Same with you, Sean?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, old business authority boards and commission. Katie?
So we are just working at this point on scheduling the interviews with potential candidates and just working out everybody's fun fall schedules.
Okay, thank you. Discussion, accepting Dr. Martin Luther King's memorial sign. Mary Ann?
Thank you, Your Honor. So, at the last council meeting, there was some discussion and some questions posed about where, if the sign was placed by second district, who would be responsible, who is that entity? Is the right-of-way owned by the city? Is it the state? Is it the school district? Elizabeth, I believe, did some research on that, and I'll turn that over to her.
So as we suspected, it is a matter of the city owning the right-of-way along that strip there. So we're recorded as the maintenance owner, so that strip there where the other historical marker is and where the committee proposes to place this memorial sign would be within that right-of-way that we own. So we would be able to go ahead and add that sign to our insurance policy as we insure the other signs in the city. Tim let us know that there wouldn't be any change in our rates if we did that. If you have any further questions, let me know, but I think we're kind of squared away on that.
I'm very supportive of having it down with the other sign. I just think that the two marry each other on it. So as long as it goes there, I have no problem with taking the responsibility of it.
Do we need a resolution, an ordinance, or a consensus?
I think to accept, well, are they ready to make the donation? Do you know?
I do not know. If they flushed out their copyright issues yet or not.
Oh, that's what my other question was. Did we get the copyright issue taken care of?
We have not heard.
When
But that has to be taken care of.
When I spoke with Gary, Manning, he spoke with someone that told him the site that he got that picture from, there's no copyright needed. He just informed me of that this morning, so.
Okay.
Do we have to have notification of that just to protect the city?
I would.
Yeah. Are you in the habit of coordinating with them? Are they in touch with you, or who's their point person?
Gary and I can be in touch with.
Okay,
Mr. Mayor.
great. So maybe they can just confirm for us that they're squared away, but as far as a discussion point, it seems like we have a consensus of council that we would be willing to take ownership of the sign and carry it forward from there.
Yes.
By second district.
And have it located in second district.
Yes. Okay. Any
You guys
other-
okay with that?
Nice location.
On?
Sure.
Okay. So you got to go ahead.
Okay.
So whatever we need to do with an ordinance or whatever, to make sure that we're covered liability-wise.
All right, sounds good.
Okay. I think we finally got the sign moved. Okay, discussion, draft ordinance, possession of small amount of marijuana and drug paraphernalia. Katie, or I'm sorry, I keep calling you Katie.
Well, I am
So you are Katie, Mary Ann, I'm gonna point the finger to you.
Thank you. So this is just a discussion, not a first or second reading. Council saw a shorter version of this at a couple council meetings ago. We're bringing it back before you to see if we could move forward with going to a first and second reading on it and advertising and such. So it's pretty much the same, very few changes. The point of contention was a little bit on the fines associated with this. So the proposed fine for the possession of a small amount of marijuana was $300. It's a set fine. Same with a $300 fine for possession of marijuana paraphernalia. What was provided to council in addition to the suggested fines was a breakdown of what it would cost a individual. This is a real life example. If an individual was charged with just the possession of a small amount of marijuana and that went through the Court of Common Pleas. You have a breakdown of the fines and court costs associated with that, and that comes out to $757.55. This is for council's consideration to compare that to the summary offense that this ordinance proposes and a $300 fine. I also emailed council earlier today with some updated information on what it would cost if an individual were to hire an attorney to take them through the misdemeanor process. That can range anywhere between $500 to $2,000. And also another $1,500 for an ARD for first-time offenders.
I had asked a question from Elizabeth, and she had given me an answer, just for the record. This ordinance would not apply to people who have a valid medical marijuana license.
Right.
Okay. As written, again, I don't know these things, that's why I'm asking. As written, would this cover things like hashish and liquid THC?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we did define that. Were you speaking up on them?
All forms of the
We did. We defined marijuana extracts in D there, 73603D.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions? So suggestions on moving forward, we put this into a ordinance form?
Correct. We would. That would be the next step, yes. We would get it on the agenda for a first reading.
Consensus of council, go ahead and start.
I'd say go ahead. Yes.
Yep.
Agreed. How many readings? Is it three?
2 meetings, 3 readings.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
move forward on.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Now the big decision, this comes every year at this time. Setting trick or treat.
It's not on our agenda. I'm not prepared. Go on.
What's that?
Go on.
Yeah, I just,
Freaked out.
that's all right. I get names wrong sometimes, you can do that. So, we gotta set trick or treat for too long, because the next meeting might be a little too late. I'll start by telling you, last year, it worked out very well to have trick or treat on the 31st, I felt, for the community. But I said back then, when it comes to this year, trick or treat falls on a Sunday. Family has, obligations Sunday afternoon and evenings. And of course, the kids gotta go to school the next morning. So, you could be looking at Saturday, but when you have the parade and you have all these kids working on the parade, it's gonna be really difficult to try to do trick or treat in the afternoon and then get the float ready. So I would assume we go back to Thursday at 6 to 7:30.
Is
Would be
school
my
out the next
proposal.
day?
Yes. Yeah.
So if they have sugar high, they can stay with their parents.
In today's world, all you gotta do is drink a Pepsi. But I think going back to Thursday makes more sense.
Yeah, I think we just did Saturday last year
Because
because
it
there was no
fell.
parade and it
Right.
was Halloween. So it
Right.
was like a one-time fun thing. This time I think Thursday trick or treat, no school Friday, and Saturday parade sounds like a very great.
It's a busy weekend.
Yeah, it's fun. I'm
And it
excited.
doesn't interfere with Sunday, with people's family events.
Right, I'm fine with me.
So we're gonna go ahead. Do we need a motion for this? I mean, do we normally do a motion?
We'll put it on your next agenda because it's not an action item on here.
Right,
Okay.
that's why I was.
Yeah, so, okay.
So people can weigh in, because next time we'll vote on it,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And people can say, care, which they do.
It's amazing.
And-
Comments. Council member statements. Sean, I'll start with you.
Let's see, I went to the wine walk last Saturday, was it? And I took my nephew, hadn't been downtown in a while, and he was amazed at our wonderful stores. And I would recommend people, if they haven't had a chance to look, to go walk through the downtown and shop down there. It's really wonderful stores right now. It's filled in real nice, and it's a very clean, safe environment. Friday, I went to the Meadville football game, not against Butler, the week before. And Meadville has a pretty good team. It was kind of fun to see them play, and the weather was nice. That's important to me. I don't like sitting in bad weather. And then the other thing was a friend of mine from high school died from COVID. And I would urge people to please, and I hadn't talked to him in years, and he called me out of the blue, and I recognized his voice a couple years ago, and I thought we'd see each other again, and we did not. And the COVID got him, And I'm pleased, if you have not been vaccinated, take another look at the numbers and decide to get vaccinated. It's, a lot of people are sick. It's time to wrap it up. That's it.
On?
Thanks, Rena, for the presentation and for staff for your work to answer everything.
Larry?
Yeah, thank you, Brenna. And I, along with what Sean is saying with the COVID, yeah, it's getting up rough, numbers are going up, kids are getting sick as we're picking them up on the buses. So everybody, please do your due diligence, make sure your kids wear your mask, yourselves, wash your hands, do everything. I've been watching the numbers and they're going up. It's no joke. To show you how serious I'm taking it now, at first I was not going to get the shot because of health problems that I have. I've lost too many friends and family members, and if you've ever seen anyone die from it, it is not something that you'll ever forget. Regardless of what you feel, because I hear a lot of people making statements about the government, this is a government thing. It's not. It's real. So I wish people would put their differences aside, governmental differences aside, and look at it from the health aspect. Like I said, until you lose someone, a family member, especially a young child, it makes you look at it totally different. So I'm encouraging everyone to get their shots. I got mine, and I was definitely 100% against it. But please, everyone get your shots, wear your mask. The only way we're going to get rid of this is if we all work together on it. That's all.
Thanks. Jim?
A couple items, Your Honor. I'd like to take the opportunity to thank the local firefighters and others who participated in the memorial event where they were climbing the stairs. Mike Crowley did an article in Saturday's paper about that. And I believe the proceeds were donated to the fallen firefighters. And for the record, at sundown tonight, Yom Kippur begins. For those who observe it, please, may you be sealed with the Book of Life. That's all, Your Honor.
Thanks, Jim. I'm going to pick up kind of where Sean and Larry left off. Two of our friends we went to school with just passed away with COVID a few days ago. And then a personal friend of mine just passed over the weekend. Unfortunately, it was pretty rough for the family to go through. You're very correct on that. And so just use caution. Take every precaution you can. Once that life is gone, you can, of course, you never bring it back. And so I encourage you to use common sense. I think that's the best route to go. And with that, I have nothing else. So I'll ask for a motion. Second? He's quick. Executive session?
We
On.
are to pending litigation.
We have a second?
Second.
Okay. Roll call.
Donahue?
Aye.
McKnight?
Aye.
Roa?
Aye.
Vogel?
Aye.
Stearns?
Aye. We're adjourned. That was quick, guys.
Easy.
Did pretty well.
Good job, everyone.
You ain't seen us.